Constable's father was a very wealthy corn merchant. And in fact, he owned Flatford Mill, which is just behind me. He also owned barges that took grain and goods down the River Stour, and owned a wharf on the estuary where from there they used to take all the grain up to London. And on my left, just over here, is a dry dock, which was used for building and repairing barges. The dry dock was in fact only rediscovered a few years ago when the National Trust was doing some building work for its tea shop here. But this is how it looked in Constable's time. This is boat building, painted in 1824. Constable wanted to be a natural painter, in other words, to paint exactly what he saw and not an idealised version of reality. Even so, this painting is one of the very few of his exhibited works that he painted mainly on location. The problem with painting directly from nature was that it didn't conform to the trend of finishing a picture. That means giving it a polish. And Constable was criticised by his contemporaries for not taking his picture far enough, as they put it. Before painting the picture, Constable did a sketch of the dock with a boat being built in it. In the sketch, work is being carried out on the boat, whereas in the finished picture, the workers have downed tools. This is Flatford Mill, but over there is Willie Lott's cottage, and Constable painted it loads of times, most famously in the hay wain. But he also painted his father's mill from the other side. Let's go and have a look. Flatford Mill is now a field studies centre run by the Field Studies Council. It offers a variety of courses throughout the year, including Learn to Paint courses, and I can't think of a nicer place to learn. The courses are open to young people of all ages, as they say here. The scene behind me, Constable sketched and painted many times, using sketches done here back in the studio for more formal paintings. This oil sketch was one of a series of half a dozen that Constable completed from around this position, and which he used as studies for this picture, his main exhibit at the Academy in 1812. You can see that it's much more finished than the sketch. I've decided to do a watercolour sketch of the mill from a very similar position, and I've already drawn it in pencil. The clouds are very thin. There's one or two about, not a lot, but I do want to suggest that they're there, so I'm just leaving little breaks in the watercolour as I paint down. And then, in fact, while it's there, just add a little bit of yellow ochre in these through here. And then a bit more crimson as we go down nearer the horizon. Now we've got trees here, so I'm not covering it completely, just blobbing it about, because the trees are going to go over that colour. I'm mixing some colour, this lovely warm red brick colour, for the walls of the mill house, and I want it bright, but it does go a little sort of dirty in places. But the important thing, especially where the sun is, I just want to get that lovely warm colour. Now I've just added a little bit of blue into this there. And down this side. This will be painted over again because it's shadow. It's the shadow side. This incidentally was cadmium red with yellow ochre. And I mustn't go over the window frames. Do it quite freely, don't... This isn't something where you're worrying about it. Just don't try and keep exactly to the edges. That's the edges of the buildings and the shapes. Be reasonably free and confident with it. I must paint in the chimney pots. Now again, I'm painting over the shadow side with the same colour, because I'll put a shadow colour over the top. And the last one. Now I want to continue with this wall, the wall that runs right in front. And although it was brick at some time, there's been some, it looks like whitewash over it. But anyway, I'll continue it, and remember, now you see, there we go, I went straight into the red, and this over here isn't red, it's a sort of bluey white colour. In fact, there's quite a bit of yellow ochre in that, so I just added a little bit of yellow ochre to it. And there's a bit that just comes over there, sort of cement. And now this is, I'm going to paint all under here. It's very light as this, and of course it will be dark when I paint it over because it's in shadow. But that will give me a start to the tone when I start. Now that was a smudge bit I did earlier, so it doesn't mean a thing. I'm just going to paint straight over that with this whitey colour. There's a bit of brick, just a little bit of brick that shows at the top like that, so I'll just put that in. And then continue down to the bottom here. Now we're into greenery. Now remember, when I put this in, we're just going up there, following the way that the trees, it hardly shows that tree, but it's there and it's got to go in. Some of it comes down to the bottom, and it runs across, right across. In fact, it goes further than I thought. This turns into ivy, and this runs all the way up to that window. Now I'm following these sort of shapes that the ivy is going with my brush, and it does get darker around here, but I shall leave that until later. Now into the wall again with my wall colour. Now this, we've got bricks here now in this section. Oh, and this is important. I just want to just put a few bricks, that little shapes that could be the ends of bricks at the top here, and then grate them along the bottom. Just gives that little bit of character to it. I'm running the bricks behind that green, and they go across it. Then it goes into this white. In fact, this was white up there, but I'm quite happy at the moment it being red, because I get the shape of those bricks. Now I'm going into brick shape here, if you like. They're just suggested bricks, just tapering off, because they go into the white again, and it does just give a suggestion that these are bricks and it's a brick wall. There's some trees in the distance. Now I'm going to do them a little blue, because I want them to recede, although looking at them they're quite green here, but I just want them to recede into the distance more. So I've cooled them off, and then there's the greener trees, the more local trees coming into view around here, and there's one that really sort of covers. I want a bit more yellow in that. This one really comes over all this area, dances all over, and again I'm letting the brush take the leaves, or the suggested, they can't be individual leaves, these are groups of leaves, and I'm letting the brush take the shape. There's quite a bit of red in a tree up here, and that's coming over in this direction, sort of dotting all over down here. Now I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to sit back, have a look at it. I think I'll come back and put some shadow work in. It will give 3 dimensions to it and keep me into the painting. I feel as though it's a bit flat at the moment. The shadow has helped the side wall, and now I'll work under the eaves along here. And then it comes down here with trees, bits of trees, goes at an angle. I don't know why it goes at an angle, but it goes through there like that. and then all of this side is in shadow, all under here, and then there's just shadows from trees on here, on that little bit back there, and it goes very dark. I don't know what's there, but it just goes very dark to give the end of the building, to show that end shape, then into the trees here. Now I'm going to just put in the windows with my number 6 brush. Up to now I've been using a number 10 sable, and this is a number 6. And when I say the windows, I'm talking about these up here that I'd missed. So we just want to just put some literally dark lines there, brush strokes. Now while I've got this on the brush, this dark colour, I'm going to add more into some of these windows. That's better, that's giving them a bit more life. Now notice I'm not covering them exactly, and perhaps a little suggestion of the windowsill underneath. Well, this is the bit we all dread, it's putting in the water. The trouble is, on a watercolour like this, you've only really got one chance to put it in and get it right. You can work over it, but it's nice to be able to get it the first time, so we always sort of worry about this. Well, keep your fingers crossed and let's have a go. Now, that is the reflection of the wall. And that's very dark through there. I'll have to go through this, over this bit again, this dark area in here, which is the tunnel, and it goes dark, continues going dark. It's a sort of greeny dark colour here. There's movement on the water all the time. Now this is where I'm changing colour, and first of all there's just that little bit of lighter bit there. I've just had to quickly change the colour there, but this is the wall itself of the house, although there's a bit of green obviously coming from here, so I'm going to put that in. Let it all run. The idea of this is to do it while it's wet. Get some more green, it's darker through there. Just keep the brush moving whatever happens, because there's no way, there's one or two windows showing through there, little bit frames of windows, a little bit redder through there. It's just got a bit brighter down here. Oops, a hair on the brush, don't worry about that, keep going. It's all starting to blob, but it's going together nicely at the moment. And all the strokes are horizontal, the brush strokes, because that's the way the water is running. Now it's much darker down here because we've got the side of the house in shadow, and we've got, it seems to be more green over here, just coming through, and there's green over here. Believe me, while you're doing this, you are holding your breath, because you do want to try and get it the first time. Now, I want to get some blue sky. There's little bits of blue sky coming in here, where the reflection is finished. By the way, there's nothing you can do if anybody comes up and talks to you while you're doing this when you're outside. Once you start, you must keep going. You can't stop while you're doing this. I'm leaving these sort of lovely highlights here of the waves. Well, they're not waves, but the ripples. Now, I want to get rid of that, so I'm going back onto it after getting some of the water out of the brush. Just take one or two of these away. as you see them. Just done a couple of things to finish the painting. This lifebelt round here, I just added a couple of red bits there to make it look more like a lifebelt. I've put a darker reflection under the tunnel there, and I think I'm happy with that. I don't need to do any more, and I've really enjoyed painting Flatford Mill, and to think I've been sitting where Constable used to do it, it's really given me a thrill this afternoon.
Churchill, could you save me money on car insurance?
Oh, yes.
Just by calling 0800 200 300?
Yes.
OK, can I pay monthly?
Yes.
Get an instant quote?
Yes.
Instant cover?
Of course.
Ah, I suppose I've got loads of forms to fill in.
Oh, no.
And I could still save on my car insurance?
Oh, yes.
Ring Churchill now on 0800 200 300. Give the dog a phone on 0800 200 300 and see how much you could save.
Is that David Warburton? Who else?
Warburtons, family bakers since 1876.
However much you get from a film, there's always more in the book. The new Next Directory is out now. Call 0800 20 40 60. Just £3 brings more for you, your partner, your children, for where you live and how you live. You can spread the cost of your order with our credit account, and delivery is normally within 48 hours. Call 0800 20 40 60. Next Directory, complete and unabridged.
I'm an ordinary housewife and mother. I've dragged a J-cloth over my surfaces and plumped my Chesterfield, but I'm at my tether's end, dinner-wise. But wait, tucked behind my black bean sauce, in between the cayenne and the vanilla pods, is my salvation. Bisto. Add a splash to some sausages, chops, or even a burger, and Bob's your in-law, a filling family meal for any family with a family to feed. That's altogether a better idea than doing something out of a book with giblets.
With the new Additions current account from Barclays, you get an interest-free overdraft.
Thank you very much.
A legal helpline.
My lord.
Children's medical insurance. Life assurance. Card protection.
Hey, my man.
And more, including telephone banking. New Barclays Additions. Free phone 0800 00 1011 for details of the current account that gives you all this and more.
Constable referred to his careless boyhood, and what a place to be brought up. I mean, look at it. You could go fishing, watching nature, sketching. I mean, it's really a great place to be brought up as a child. And this next picture, I think it really sums up what his boyhood was all about. He called this picture Boys Fishing, and it's a view looking upstream. The lock he painted has been replaced, of course, and trees have since grown up on the right-hand side of the bank. But Bridge Cottage is still here, and the wooden bridge, although it's not the one he painted, is almost an exact replica. And Constable painted another view of Flatford Mill from here, looking downstream from the foot of the wooden bridge. In fact, if you look at the painting on the bottom left-hand corner, you can see a post from the bridge. The trees which now line the bank weren't there, of course, in Constable's time, so he had a clear view of the mill. But Constable country is still remarkably unchanged, and it's very easy to find the sites of Constable's paintings around Flatford Mill. Well, for my last painting today, I'm going to do an oil sketch of the boats that I was in earlier, and they're moored just underneath this bridge. There's a man under the bridge in a boat, and it's absolutely perfect, his silhouette. So I'm going to do a very quick sketch of him. Now, first of all, let's get some dark underneath the bridge where it really is in shadow. And these goes a bit greener there, and then we've got the posts. They're dark. I'm using this reasonably thin at the moment, this paint, because I want to get it over very quickly. The hat is a nice shape. That's a nice shape. Then I'll leave the colour of the face. Actually, his coat has got a little bit of, well, it is a blue jacket. Very difficult to see, but you can just tell that it's blue, so I've added a bit more cadmium in there. We've got hands there holding the oars. Run out. In fact, that oar comes through there. This one comes down into there. They're all silhouette. There's a little bit more colour with them. But now we've got some shadow in the boat, and it's a lovely brown rich colour, the boat. He nearly hit the sides then when he went through there. You've obviously got to catch this very quick. I mean, the movement of the boat goes, or the shape of the boat goes. He seems to be playing around under there, which is pretty good, because although he's naturally not in the same position all the time, there's the leg going down there, although he's not in the same position all the time, at least he's moving in the same place. A little bit of light just up there. Now, I don't know whether you can hear that. That was a coffee machine. I'm sitting actually just at the foot of the bridge, the wooden bridge that was always crossed the River Stour here, although it's a different one to the one that Constable was on when he did his paintings. But I've got the National Trust coffee or tea house behind me, and there's plenty of people about, which is rather nice because you feel as though life is going on here. The thing that inspired me about this painting was the man in the boat and the bright water behind him. So I'm now going to mix the colour for this bright water. I'm going to mix white, plenty of white, with a little bit of cobalt blue and crimson, and just a touch of these sort of muddy, dirty greens that I've got on the palette. Now in places I'll be picking up little bits of colour underneath, but that doesn't worry me, of course. Now, although I'm doing this reasonably free, or very free, this painting, I've still got to control certain parts. Now, I want to be careful going round the man's head. Some light coming through there, and through this one, and of course on the other side. Notice I'm leaving little flecks of the underpainting showing through. I'm not trying to fill it in solid. Now this is a very important little bit just round here, so I'm going to be careful. Now, the last thing I'm going to do on this very free sketch is to put some of these ducks in. I must do that. They've been here all afternoon. I'm sure you've heard them. And it just gives a little more life to the picture. Now, this is literally just a suggestion of them there. They're sort of flying and darting and they're turned in different positions. It's just movement more than anything that I'm doing. And they've got the little babies around. And a little bit of white on them in places. Just a little flick. Oh, I think that's enough. They're just there. It's just enough to give a little bit of movement to it. Well, that's all I've got time for today. But there's so much to paint around Flatford Mill. No wonder it was one of Constable's favourite places to paint. I'll see you next time.